Could you have homeschooled your children? This is the RV Life Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt, your host, with my incredible wife, Patty Hunt. And we've come to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast platform, whether that be Apple, Google, Spotify. It just doesn't matter because we are on all of them. Our guests today not only homeschool their children, but they are full-time RVers and have an active social media presence.
Today is the first day of the Hershey, America's largest RV show, and we are so excited to be here at the show and can't wait to see what the show's going to bring this year.
I got to tell you, this place is incredible. You know, here we are, we're sitting in the Freightliner booth tent. It's actually a circus tent. And there's these great big Class A chassis out in front. That's what they make. So we're sitting in the Freightliner tent. Hershey Park and the roller coasters are right across the parking lot. And I have to say, the smell here, the smell of chocolate is in the air. I love being in Hershey. This is one of my favorite 10 days of the year, is the America's largest RV show, the Hershey RV show.
And you know what? We've been on the road full time for over 2.5 years. This is the second time at the Hershey. We call it the Hershey RV show, but the official name is America's largest RV show, and we love it here. We're so excited for this week.
Now, I will give myself a unconditional plug and say that this is the first day of the RV show. So for the next 9 days, you can come and see Patty and I speaking at a seminar, 10 a.m. every single day in the president's room, or where are we at?
Yeah. The room, it's upstairs.
It's upstairs in the concourse level.
It's only 5 days. I know you want to do 9 days.
Okay. It's 5 days this year.
And it is upstairs, and all the information's on the website. When you walk in, you can find out where the rooms are. All of that information is as soon as you walk in the door. I love their app.
Their app is great. The information booth and the information lady, man, they will tell you where to go, where to stay. But you want to come to this seminar because we are going to teach you everything about RV trip planning. What to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go, all of those things. We're going to talk about all of those things at the Hershey RV show this year. Now, that sound means it's time for this week's Fun Fact of the Week. Fun Fact segment is brought to you by the Open Road Resort with 4 great locations in Montana, Utah, and Texas. Now, I got to tell you, these people are incredible. And if you're going to Yellowstone, you want to stay in one of these parks. These parks are right outside the gates, so you don't have to pay the exorbitant prices on the inside. And it is beautiful. You want to see the stars like you've never seen the stars, you want to go to this part of the country because it is just incredible.
Yes, Open Road Resorts has 3, like Dan said, incredible locations in Montana and Utah, and we are already planning to be there next summer. We can't wait. And this year, we're actually going to Albuquerque, and then we're going to be in Dallas, where they have a location. It's called Dallas NE, and we can't wait to go to this resort. We will do video and fill you all in on how that was after we get there.
Okay, Patty, it's time for that fun fact. We've talked about the sponsor of the fun fact, but we got to give them the fun fact. That's your job.
So the fun fact, homeschooling became a huge thing for everyone during the pandemic. But we wanted to look at how many students are still being homeschooled today. These statistics are 2022, the end of 2022. And according to the National Home Education Research Institute, 2021, which was during the pandemic, 3.7 million students were homeschooled. 3.7 million. That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of millions.
Okay. In 2022, 4.3 million were homeschooled. That number increased, and it'll be interesting to see what happened in 2023, being the pandemic was over.
Now, I'll tell you what, I can't even imagine homeschooling. Now, between Patty and I, we have 5 kids, and they're all older. They're all out of school. As a matter of fact, we've got 9 grandkids now. But I just sit down and I think about my eldest, Danny, and then Amanda, my second eldest, and then Caitlin, our third eldest. I cannot imagine sitting them around a table and trying to homeschool them, because those were some stubborn kids. I just can't imagine going down that road with them. It's not like we have, good kids like Marcus over here. But
wow. I hope the kids don't listen to this episode, because you just threw 3 of them under the bus. And I got to say, when they were growing up, I don't know that I could have imagined homeschooling them. And I was a teacher for 20 years. Couldn't have imagined. But when Dan says sitting around the table, when you go out now and you see kids being homeschooled, they're not necessarily sitting around the table. And I love that. And given this new information, I think I might have considered homeschooling, talking to people that are doing it. I don't know. I think I might have done it. We could take some of the grandkids and homeschool.
I will tell you that I was so impressed. We were at a campground, a Thousand Trails campground, right here in Pennsylvania. I don't remember the name. It was up by the Poconos area. Timothy Lake. And that's where we met this group of people called Party of 6. And their kids, they did something that I was just so amazed. They had just come from a national park, and one of the water spigots was broken. So what they did is they built their own reservoir and waterfall system, and they contained that water, and they brought it right back down into the sewage. I have to tell you, I was so impressed with these kids making their own national park. They called it Thousand Trails National Park here in Pennsylvania, and it was just incredible, because they built the rocks out, and they had the reservoir going there. They had the little Lego boats going across the reservoir. They had it down because they went through one of the educational programs at one of the parks that they were at. They told them about the reservoir system, so they repeated that reservoir system and built it. I was so impressed with not only the kids, but the parents for allowing the kids to do it. I mean, these kids went into the toolbox and they got hammers and they were breaking rocks apart so they fit properly. They were doing it all, but it was really, really impressive. I think if you go over to Party of 6, I think they did a video on it, and it's really worth taking a look at that video. Patty, I'd like you to find that and put that in the show notes if you could.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Okay. We are here at Thousand Trails in Hershey, Pennsylvania, on the first day of America's largest RV show. The RV Life podcast is brought to you by RV Life and their project, RV Trip Wizard.
When traveling in your RV, how do you navigate? Do you use a paper map, a GPS, or do you use Google Maps? Our sponsor, RV Trip Wizard, has the solution, and it just works.
It just works. And boy, does it just work. RV Life podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patty Hunt. Our guest today, well, he is a United States Army veteran, the kind of guy that can figure out anything. They have an online presence, and guess what? They actually met online, and they have never looked back since they met. They have 2 children. One of them is in the service today in a security detail, right? And they are full-time RVers with 2 years under the belt, and they are avid users of RV Trip Wizard. This man right here is the only man I have ever seen that is scheduled out a year in advance. He knows where he's going to be a year in advance. I'm lucky to get 2 or 3 months out. But I'll tell you what,
2 or 3 weeks.
Got to have a lot of respect there. We met them last year at the Hershey RV show, and since then they have become great friends and supporters of the RV Life podcast, including being our setup crew in Tampa. Now, there's a story behind that, because in Tampa, we pulled into Tampa, and the day that we got there, Patty's mom went into the hospital. So Patty got on an airplane and went back to take care of her mom. And that left me at Tampa doing, I'm going to say 6 seminars, 6 podcasts in different locations. And that was really spread out. Now, I did have a golf cart, but I'd go over every morning, pick them up. They'd come back over to my RV. We'd load up that RV and we'd go out to wherever we had to be and get set up. It is just great how the RV community comes together in people's times of need.
And they certainly did. They've been incredibly supportive. But I want to introduce Kurt, Melodie, and Marcus Clayton to the show. Welcome to the RV Life podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for being here with us. It's, about time that you guys actually got onto the show.
Yes.
You've helped me produce, plenty of episodes. But let's start out with talking about your decision to go full-time. Now, we're here today, and we actually have a studio audience. Are you guys all full-timers? Well, you're not a full-timer. You're a full-time worker. You 3 in the front, you guys are all full-timers. So let's talk about that decision when you said, I don't want this house anymore. I don't want to mow the lawn anymore. I want to get out and enjoy the open road.
Well, it kind of started with us just looking at our life, and with COVID hitting, it's like, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? And what do we want to be with our lives? Our oldest was finishing out high school, finishing out his college associates. And with our youngest already being homeschooled, with Marcus being homeschooled, we're just like, all right, well, we can do something different.
Okay.
I feel like COVID taught us we could homeschool, where before we would have never thought about it. And he did so much better homeschooling.
That's great.
Okay, so you already had to homeschool. And like you said, COVID taught you can do it because, as Dan and I said in the open, I can't even imagine. I don't think we could. But since you're already forced into it, there it was. Now, let's talk a little bit. We were talking before the podcast, and we're going to throw this to Kurt. There's the whole state and domicile thing, and that's not the topic of the show. But depending on where you're, what we're calling domiciled, depends on what you have to do as far as education. So now you're domiciled in South Dakota, is that correct?
Correct.
And what did that look like? Why did you choose South Dakota?
We chose South Dakota because there's no reporting essentially back to the state. They leave it in the parents' hands, which is a nice transition that we're not sitting there going, all right, there's a government entity hanging over our heads going, you have to be doing it this way, this many hours a week, and yada, yada, yada.
So you chose South Dakota. I just want people to understand what it might look like in another state for people who aren't familiar. And again, we were discussing this beforehand. You chose South Dakota, you said, because you didn't want to report a state that you would have to report to. What would that look like?
Well, state mandated testing. And some kids aren't great testers. And that's the nice thing for our Marcus is he isn't the greatest tester, and we can let him redo his test and go through it again. It's not a one and done.
Okay, and I love that. And as a teacher, I love that idea. I'm not going to go down that road right now, but certainly another time for a topic of conversation.
Now, the young lady in the front, well, we were talking about this before we went on the air, and you stated that where you were, you had to do state testing at certain times. You rattled them off. What are those times that you had to do those state testing?
3rd grade, 5th, 8th, and 10th.
3rd, 5th, 8th, and 10th. You had to give the children the state test, and you had to sit there and moderate it like it's one of those, like an SAT type test. And what happens, just out of curiosity, if the child doesn't pass the testing?
So if the child does not get at least a 13th percentile.
Wait. Hold on. 13 percentile.
Which is like answering 1 or 2 questions correctly. So,
Okay, so
out of 100 questions, we got to get 2 right.
Yes.
Now I will say, and again, being a teacher for 20 years in that district, 13 percentile, 2 questions right, but different states are going to be very different. And I just want to give that overview.
Now, what state were you in?
It was Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay, so she said that was Oregon. But, I worked in Pennsylvania and we did state testing. 2 questions, right, wouldn't have cut it. I don't know how they're doing it now. So again, I just want the masses to understand that different states can be drastically different because...
I will say that my oldest son lives in Bend, Oregon, and our grandson and granddaughter are going to an elementary school in Bend. I got to tell you, I went to this place. It's like a college campus. It was incredible, the school system in Bend, Oregon.
That's actually where we're from.
That's where you're from.
That's
huh?
where they're from. So,
okay.
And again, the podcast usually doesn't go out to the audience, but thank you for sharing. Our goal is to let people know, what their options are, what choices, and we get questions about homeschooling all the time. So you guys said you started homeschooling because you're kind of forced into it. It just worked for you. You're residents of South Dakota, which you specifically chose because you don't have to report to them. Can you give people an idea of then how you figured out curriculum? Let's call it curriculum, a system of education. You have an online system, right?
Yeah, we signed up with one of the many online options that were out there that we felt Marcus would be benefited from the most. A lot of these kids nowadays, they get their information from the devices. That's how they absorb it. They watch these YouTube videos, and then they can go out and do the thing. Just like most of us adults, even on the road for RV stuff. If something needs fixed and broke down, all right, I'm sure there's a YouTube video for it.
Dan swears if somebody needed brain surgery, he could just go on YouTube.
Just go on YouTube. I can find out how to do it. Is it the red or the blue one? That's
He talks about this all the time, so I'm a little worried about that. Will you share the name of that program with people?
We use Time for Learning. It's relatively inexpensive, $20 a month, and it covers all the basic subjects for them that we want them to have covered. History, math, English, takes care of all those basics. And then, it's road schooling on top of that. Let's go to Gettysburg. Let's go to Valley Forge. Let's show you the history in person.
Right, instead of reading about it. Now, I have to say, normally we record the RV Life podcast in the front of our RV. Okay, so we're out on the road and we do it on the front of our RV and we bring our guests in through a thing called Riverside and then we can see them and look at them. But here we are where we have a live studio audience for the taping of the RV Life podcast. And for the first time in a very long time, a woman just walked in, sat down in the back row, and she's got an RV Life t-shirt on. How great is that? Let's give her a great big round of applause, if I can find my applause. There they are. And before you leave, you want to come up, I'll give you an RV Life podcast sticker. You are now officially a part of the RV Life podcast. And one of the reasons that we stay afloat is we have sponsors. So we're going to take a break right now, but after the break, we're going to talk to Marcus about homeschooling. We're going to talk about friends, sports, prom, girls, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about how he feels from a kid's point of view of experiencing Valley Forge as opposed to reading about it in a book. So we're going to do all of that right after this.
The most important part of your RV is the roof. If your roof leaks, your trip and your RV get ruined. You can take it to a dealership or service center to be maintained at their expensive rates. Or you can maintain it yourself over a weekend for a fraction of the cost. Liquid Rubber RV roof products will keep you dry and leak-free. Visit shopliquidrubber.com/RVLife. Use coupon code RVLifePod15 to save 15%. That's shopliquidrubber.com/RVLife.
National Indoor RV Centers with over 1,000 motorhomes available across multiple locations. National Indoor RV Centers continues to provide an outstanding hassle-free motorhome ownership experience. National Indoor is the #1 Newmar dealer in the nation and also features brands like Integra, Winnebago, and much more. Visit NIRVC.com and become a part of the National Indoor RV Centers family.
National Indoor RV Centers. I cannot say enough about these guys. You know, when we were in a situation, we were right outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia, and there's a National RV Center store there. It's called Manassas, Virginia. And that happens to be where Patty's brother lives, where her mother, we had to put on hospice, was staying at the time. And when Brett found out about that, he's like, what can I do? And we said, well, we can't leave our RV in front of our brother's house because it's 40 feet and his driveway is only 20 feet. So it was causing some problems. Said, bring the RV over. We'll take care of it for you. So 5 miles away, we took the RV over, put it at NIRVC, and left it there for a couple...
3 months.
3 months.
Actually,
Couple 3 months we were there. We were off the road.
Yeah.
And you know, they took care of it. We had some stuff done to the RV. I cannot say enough about these guys. They are true people. I was at an event with Brett where there was an event where I'm going to say there was 300 people there. And he stood at the door and he shook everybody's hand as they walked in. Right after COVID was over, he still did that. And then as the event was over, he thanked them all for coming as they were leaving. And he remembered all 300 people's names. That was the most impressive thing I have ever seen.
I just want people to know we're talking about Brett Davis, who is the owner of NIRVC, which has 6 locations. They sell motorhomes, Class B, Class Cs, right?
Yep.
So they are absolutely wonderful.
Okay, so here we have the Clayton family. We have Kurt and Melodie, and we have Marcus. Marcus, how old are you?
I am 12.
12 years old, but you have lived a life where you have experienced going to real school and you have also experienced going to homeschool, right?
Yes.
Now, my question that's on my sheet here is, I would like you to talk to us and talk to the audience from a kid's point of view of what you think of homeschooling.
From a kid's view of homeschooling, it's actually pretty good. You get to play more often and enjoy life a lot more.
Enjoy life a lot more. Okay, from the prospect of a 12-year-old enjoying life a lot more because you get to sleep in a little bit more?
Yes.
Yeah?
Play some more video games.
I know I got 2 kids in the back over here that I've known them for about a year and a half now, and they get to sleep in a little bit more. But you know, we were talking about before we went on the show. They also learn the chores and they learn the things that they have to do. Have you ever done your own laundry?
I have helped with laundry, but no.
Okay, well, that
how about
might
doing
be
the dishes
your
at
next,
night?
That might be your lesson next week is doing laundry. What do you think from a homeschooling point of view as opposed to you did go to traditional school, right?
I think it allows you to talk to kids more and take breaks when you actually need them and do not stress you out. Plus, you can redo tests, too.
I'm a teacher of 20 years. I've got to address this because I've seen kids stressed out in school, stressed out about testing, not being able to get up in the morning. And to be able to do it at the pace that works for you. You're a smart kid. I've been with you for a while, so you're obviously learning. I just had to stop and say that because that right there for kids like you and a lot of kids that I've seen, it's a great way to still learn. And you pointed out something that people ask all the time, socialization. You're saying you get more time with kids than you did in a traditional school. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
More quality time?
Yes.
Okay, so it's plug time, and Curtis and Melodie, they are a part of a group called Full-Time Families. Terry, you're that too, right? You have full-time families too, right? And you do too? So people here in the audience, and they're saying, hey, I'm a part of that. That's a great thing. Because they have an app and you can kind of contact people when you're in and let people know that you're in a park, correct?
Well, let's let Melodie talk about that because we've not done that yet on the show, and it's a big thing talk about full-time? You're looking at Kurt. We could throw it to him, but go ahead.
You're fine. So with full-time families,
Louder.
with full-time families, they have the app, and sometimes you can get on there when you get to a park. Can you hear me now?
Okay, there you go.
So with full-time families, you do have that app, and you can go on when you get to a park, especially like 1,000 Trails, and ask to join the conversation. And it's really great because you can see what's going on. Like some people are like, hey, we're going to have a get-together at site B12. If you have kids, come on down. Or we're having a fire, come join the fire. And it's a great way for you to meet other people and your kids to meet other kids.
And so one of the things people say is, again, that socialization. You guys travel all over the country. Do you find that you're still, kids are still staying connected to one another? You're still seeing the same kids? Can you speak about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have, of course, you meet friends along the road, and sometimes you'll say, hey, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to be close. So you'll detour so your kids and you guys can hang out and be close. Our son uses Kids Messenger like a lot of other kids. So he has a friend in New York, and he'll be talking to her in New York, hey, what's going on? And he has friends in, let's say, California, so they can keep in touch even though they're far away.
I've never heard of this Kids Messenger. Tell me about Kids Messenger. What is it? Okay, so it's a Facebook Messenger just for the kids.
Now, when I was a kid, I played a video game in my living room on my TV. But I walked into your RV the other day, and you're playing a video game with somebody else somewhere else, and you're talking to them while you're playing the video game.
Yes, I am. Well, I was.
You were, when you were doing that the other day.
Yes.
That is really incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, that now you have you've taken something, no more video games. Well, wait a minute. That's their socialization time, too. So they're playing a video game, they're talking to other kids, they're playing with other kids, and they're forming relationships and building teamwork, too. I mean, watching what you were doing the other day, it's like, they're working together to destroy the enemy.
Whatever the game was, I'm not sure.
Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is experiences. And I'm going to go back to when I was a kid. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. So I read in a book about Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And I saw a video maybe. But you actually got to go there. You got to go into those houses that those people lived in the wintertime, and you got to see how they slept. Do you think that's a better education than what I had just looking at it in a book?
Yes.
Why would that be?
Because you get to experience it, and there are educational plaques around that you could go to and read them.
Now, have you participated in the ranger programs where you get ranger badges for going and doing different things?
Yes, I have.
That is absolutely incredible as far as I'm concerned. That is, what life is all about. Patty, I'm going to go back real quick and talk about that couple that we met the very first week that we started RVing. We were in the Las Vegas area at Lake Mead, and we were at a campground at Lake Mead.
So I got to just chime in because for people starting out RVing, this was our first month RVing. It was dry camp.
Dry camping for our first month.
I don't know.
Who needs water? Who needs sewer?
I don't know why hell I made it. I had no idea. Here I am. So be careful when I know, your story, one of you convinced the other. Kurt, you convinced Melodie to go out RVing. Be careful where you take that spouse that you're convincing to go out first. Just a little side note, a little off topic, but go ahead. Talk about that family.
Okay, anyway, this family, it was right at the beginning of COVID or right towards the end of, I don't know, I think it was right at the beginning of COVID. They were learning about the Grand Canyon. And this mother got so fed up with the kids not being able to go to school and being able to go to school and the rules changing every other day. She decided to put her kids in the back of their caravan, and told her husband to figure out internet so he could work off his laptop. And they got in their van and drove from South Carolina all the way to Nevada and took those kids to the Grand Canyon so they could actually experience it themselves. That to me is what homeschooling is all about. And one of the most inspirational things that I have seen in a very, very long time.
And that's the thing. I guess the point of this, well, it is the point of this conversation. Homeschooling is not for everybody. Not trying to say it is, but if you're thinking about it, I see people all the time online. Hey, I'm thinking about homeschooling. I can't imagine, or I don't know that I could teach my kid algebra or, advanced science classes. There is support, right? You feel like as Marcus gets older and gets into those topics that you may not be advanced in, you feel like he'll have that support.
Well, I wouldn't say just advanced in. It's stuff that we learned 20 plus years ago that we haven't used since then, actually.
I was trying not to call you on your lack of knowing algebra or something. but yeah, but you have the support. You don't feel like you have to learn all of these topics and know them yourself because there is the online.
Some we have to relearn, and then others we can outsource. That's the thing about the RV community and all these other homeschooling families that are out there. If we're stumbling on something, we can put out a message in the group, and someone will probably have an answer for us.
That's great.
Or point you to where you can find the answers.
That is great. I have a calculus question here, so we're going to send that one over to Mel.
Mel, for those of you who are not here live, is waving her hand. She is not your calculus expert. Nope.
Well, you need to be a calculus expert to figure out how sponsorships work in the podcasting world. And right now, I'm going to take a break and hear from one of our sponsors. We'll be back right after this.
Does dropping your motor coach off at the truck stop full of semi-trailers for new tires give you nightmares? Eliminate the unknown and get your new motorhome tires mounted while you watch at your campsite or wherever you are parked. Motorhometires.com takes care of the entire process for you. We come to you with your new tires, mount them, add balance beads, and we even dispose of your old tires. With motorhometires.com, you'll also enjoy great prices and new tires with guaranteed fresh date codes, and enjoy sweet dreams instead of truck stop nightmares with your friends at motorhometires.com.
Protecting your RV investment means being ready for anything. An extended RV warranty from Wholesale Warranties is the best way to make sure that if an RV failure happens, you can afford to get back to enjoying the RV life as soon as possible. RV warranties are available for motorhomes, fifth wheels, and travel trailers, new and used, across the U.S. Visit wholesalewarranties.com for a free personalized RV warranty quote today and hit the road with peace of mind tomorrow.
Wholesale warranties. This was another topic we had before we got on the podcast, and Terry from Roaming Dad, did I say that right? That's his channel, his YouTube channel, was talking about some RV repairs. I mean, if I asked that question, I'm sure everybody in here would say, yes, they've had some RV repairs. We had Jeff Shelton on the show. So last week's podcast talking about warranties. And I got to be honest, I was a little worried about the conversation because it's not the most exciting thing to talk about, right? Warranties. Jeff is the owner of the company, and he truly made talking about warranties fun. And he didn't say, yes, everybody go get a warranty. He said, well, wait a minute. Here's how you could decide whether a warranty may be the right thing for you. And I just love that when you have an owner of a company and not saying you need one and you need one and you need. It was just a great conversation. And that was last week's show if you want to go check it out.
It was really a great show. And, you know, I don't know about everybody else, but I have never had a warranty problem or an issue.
Can't hear.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, the red button had to be off. The green button had to be on. Okay.
Push it.
I don't know about anybody else, but we have never had a warranty issue on our RV. Our RV runs perfectly 365 days a year.
He's lost his mind. We have a 20-year-old warranty, a 20-year-old RV. So the warranty company won't even cover it. And, they can't hear. She's saying she can't hear us. Okay. So we have a 20-year-old RV, and there's not been many I don't know, 6-month periods of time that we didn't need to repair something, right? There's always something to be repaired.
It's constant. It is absolutely constant. You have to have your toolbox very close by all the time because there's always something to do. And then I always like to pull in and park next to my friend Curtis here because he'll help me do anything I need to do. And if I can't figure out what the problem is, he knows what the problem is.
Well, that's how we met, Dan. Remember, I was driving by. You were working on your rig, and you needed some stuff, and I helped you out.
That's right.
Exactly what happened. Those little connector thingies.
Yeah, the wire nuts.
There you go. They are a lifesaver. You've got to have wire nuts in your, know how to use them, but you have to have them.
Well, these
in your
are
RV.
like
That's what
these are like wire nuts out of 2001: Space Odyssey. It's incredible. You just put the wire in here, push down on it. What are they called?
wire nuts.
Wago nuts, but they're just a clip style versus the old twist.
Yeah, it's a clip style versus the old twist style. I have used those all over this RV and on a couple home projects that we were working on as well. So I got to tell you, we absolutely love these things. Now, I'm going to press that button, and that button means it's time for this week's RV Life Pro Tip of the Week.
New RV Life Trip Wizard customers are often surprised to see how many campgrounds are displayed on the map. To help narrow the selection of which campgrounds to add to your trip, use the Filters feature built into the research menu. You can filter based on your preference of park type, rating, reviews, hookups, amenities, price, and club memberships, just to name a few. Virtually every part of the RV lifestyle can be identified and filtered to show you the campgrounds, RV parks, state parks, and more that are important to you. You'll find much of the same filtering available on the RV Life Pro mobile app as well for those spur-of-the-moment journeys. Create your best RV trip with the best filtering available. I'm Pat Buchanan with your RV Life Pro Tip of the Week.
Now, Curtis, I'm going to refer to you on this because you use RV Trip Wizard probably more than anybody that I have ever seen. And, I use the filtering, and I filter in the Costco's. That's really important to us, where Costco's are. Home Depot's, that's another one that we use a lot of. Patty loves the grocery store setup so she can find the type of store she wants. Talk to me about your experience with filtering in RV Trip Wizard.
Well, the primary reason I got it is when we bought our rig, we bought a very large RV fifth wheel. It's 43 feet long, and it's also about 13.4, 13.5 high. I don't move that thing unless I know exactly where I'm going, and RV Trip Wizard allows me to do that safely and accurately. All the different... It's evolved. It keeps getting better. They keep adding more features that make it easier to do what I need it to do.
I got to tell you, we were at a campground that actually assigned spots, and we tried to extend for a couple of days, and they said, sure, you can extend, but you have to move one spot over. So that night, I said, okay, we'll move one spot over. That night, what did I do? I go and I sit down at my computer in my living room, and I open up RV Trip Wizard, and I'm like, is it going to be safe to move one spot over here? She was laughing at me, thinking I was a nut, but I don't move that thing an inch. I don't turn that engine on without first consulting RV Trip Wizard.
It is really important to, RV safe, GPS, the planning. Again, here we are in Hershey. It's the first day of the show. We are doing a seminar on trip planning to show people what it is, how to do it, some of the features. You want to be here. So it's the first day in Hershey. How do you guys feel so far about the show?
Absolutely loving it. Loving seeing all the RVs.
Are your feet killing you yet?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a big show and a lot to walk around.
Yes.
It is a big show. Not like Tampa. Tampa's a little bit bigger. Although this is America's largest, it just seems like the space is more spread out in Tampa. But I had a golf cart last year that you guys actually used more than I did.
Well, after helping you setting up, we're like, all right, we'll just go cruise around the show a little bit.
That's right.
Get it out of the way.
It helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You guys were a big help. So I do want to say the RV Life live event that's supposed to be, that is tomorrow night, at this point is sold out. So it's been sold out for over a week. If you want to try and get tickets, go onto the website. You know, they'll put you on a wait list, and as people cancel, they will move you into that position. So I just want people to know, as I've come in, people are already asking about the show, the RV Life live event. And this just means that when we do an event, you got to get your tickets early.
And I'm going to be giving away a lot of really cool stuff. There is an electric bike
You're teasing
in
me.
my living room right now that I will be giving away
Roaming
at
Dad
that event
has that.
in
He's
just 24 hours from now. So we're looking forward to the event. If you do not have tickets to the event, too bad. You waited too long. You cannot come unless you call Patty and watch her get real mad at me.
No calling me, no begging, don't walk up to me. Sorry, no tickets available. And we were supposed to have extra tickets. The idea is that we would have some extra tickets, but nope.
Yeah, we have some VIP people that want to come, and they're not even able to come. So it's a great program and a great evening, and I'll be giving away a lot of stuff, including an electric bike that Terry really wants.
It's going to look fixed if he wins it.
I know.
We're going to have a kid pick out.
Uh-oh, there's that sound again, which means it's time for this week's question of the week. And this week's question of the week, we're going to take from our studio audience right here. Now, we have somebody that we've known for, I'm going to say a couple years now. You camped last year at the Hershey RV show. You guys were directly across from us, and your daughter came over and knocked on my door and said, your son came over and knocked on my door and said, we listen to your YouTube channel. We just wanted to let you know that we're here and we have a YouTube channel too. So your YouTube channel is
Roaming Dad.
Roaming. He's not traveling, he's roaming. He's the roaming dad. He's got two great kids that are out on the road with him. And we really enjoy his company. You and I went to a Battleborn event together last year, right? So why don't you come on up to this microphone, step up to this microphone right here and ask your question.
Question that we get from a lot of people is, how do you decide where you're going to go?
Wow.
That is a great question. How do you decide where you're going to go next?
I'm going to answer that first for us. I'm sure you guys have maybe a different answer. So for us, the first thing we do is decide on what we call our hard dates. So this is what RV trip planning is about. This is what we talk about in the seminar as well. He's muting me. He's playing with buttons. And so we look at hard dates. So our hard dates are the Hershey event, Tampa event this year. Albuquerque this year. Albuquerque. And this year we're going to meet our family. I don't know how many, my brothers and sisters and all kinds of people, kids, grandkids in Florida. So we're going to Disney for a week. And so that's a hard date. There's no changing that. And then we kind of plan in between. Now for us, which is very different than Kurt and Melanie, we find that sometimes somebody will say, oh, come here. Freightliner invited us to come to the factory. We'll say, okay. And within a week or two, we'll change where we're going. And that's what's nice about TripWizard. We can make those changes easily. But a lot of times, other than those hard dates, we're flying by the seat of our pants. Like, we started back on our journey the beginning of July with no reservations except for this one in Hershey Thousand Trails. The woman in the back, her eyes are bugging out, but that's how we do it, because stuff happens, and then we make those changes. But, Terry asked the question, and as well as we do, you have somebody from a company that wants you to come visit them. And it's like, okay, where do I go and how? So you're probably flying more by the seat of your pants as well. That's how Dan and I do it. And that works for us to fly by the seat of our pants.
I want to put away a couple of myths because it's just not true. And I see it online all the time and it makes me crazy. So last winter, starting at the Tampa RV show, Patty's mom got sick. Patty left. She had to go up to Virginia to take care of her mom, leaving me all by myself in our 40-foot Class A RV, towing a Jeep, all by myself. Now, while we were at Tampa, I was asked to speak at a thing called Podfest. So I had to change my plans from where we were going to be and get reservations in Orlando. And one of the things I absolutely love about my wife is she is persistent. If you get online and you see that there's no reservations available at Orlando for next week in the middle of the wintertime in Florida, if you get on the phone every single day, there's always a cancellation. We had the whole winter planned completely, and we only stayed in one of those reservations. All the rest of the reservations were all changed or canceled or moved around. So persistence, getting on the phone, and patience. If you get on the phone and you start yelling at those people, the reservations people, it doesn't matter if you're in 1,000 Trails or any other campground program, you're not going to get anywhere. If you get on the phone and say, listen, we've got a situation, this is what happened, and we would love to come to Orlando and then Six Flags and then Peace River and I don't know what they all are opening all the way up the coast. The Oaks, we got it in South Carolina. So, is it hard? Yes. Getting reservations in today's environment is way more difficult than it was 5 years ago. But if you have persistence and you have a good attitude and a good mindset about it, you're not going to have a problem. We have never once not had a place to go. And we have maybe 20 or 30 days where we woke up in the morning and didn't have a place to stay that night. So I'm just saying that if you have a good attitude about it and you realize that as many people are booking as are canceling right now, because people have made these reservations a year in advance. Terry, I think you were talking that you can reserve some stuff a year in advance, so you're starting to look at stuff a year out. I know he does. I'm be surprised he doesn't have 2 years in advance on his phone.
And let's ask Kurt, because you do plan differently. So what's your planning strategy?
The planning strategy is where do we want to go? What do we want to see? What we haven't seen yet? And what places we want to revisit and explore even more? Right now I've got from 2023 to mid-2024 already planned out. But we are flexible in our adventures because sometimes, we'll hear from our friends. They're going to be at this campground for 2 weeks. And, that's kind of in our route. Well, let's cancel and go visit our friends.
Yeah.
So while you have things planned out, you also build that flexibility in. It's not going to hurt you if you have to cancel something and redo something else. And I think for a lot of people are shaking their head like that's just part of a full-time RV life. And I think a lot of people here are full-time, right?
Yeah, you have to be flexible.
Yeah. Flexibility is the key word here today.
Well, that's the nice thing about being able to pick up your home and move it somewhere else.
Right.
There's a hurricane coming, time to go.
Yes, and there's that. Luckily, we've not had to deal with that. There was a tornado one time.
And sitting in an RV and having a tornado come at you in Kansas, I got to tell you, it's unnerving. But, we were at a Boondockers welcome, and they came out to the RV and they said, listen, if this thing actually hits, let us show you our basement where we want everybody to go. So we would have been able to go in and get cover in a basement if the tornado actually came over top of us. We live our life in the Thousand Trail system probably 80% of the time. Boondockers Welcome, Harvest Host, Coast to Coast you use are the backup plans of other places to go. But I do have to say that living this life, the way that we live this life and moving around the way, we've been across the country from the West Coast to the East Coast, back to the West Coast, back to the East Coast, back to the West Coast, and now we're on the East Coast yet again. Leaving here, going to the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta to the middle of the country. So we travel around. We have, 17 days to get to Albuquerque after the end of the Hershey show. And then from there, we're going to go from Albuquerque and make our way down to Tampa. And I haven't talked to Patty about this yet, but after Tampa, I want to work ourselves up to Yellowstone and see our other sponsor at...
Okay, then we did have another question from the audience. I know we usually take one.
We only take one,
I'm going to trump format and
come on.
Come ask the question. Let's talk about it. It's still about homeschooling, right? So
the question I had was, a lot of people ask me what state rules you follow when you're homeschooling and you're traveling full time.
Okay. And I don't think we clearly covered that. We did. And I'll leave it to you guys because you're the travelers and the homeschoolers. And we touched on it a little bit, but just to get into a little more detail.
Well, for us, Melodie, before we got on the road, had her own business. So I was actually the stay-at-home dad for a couple of years. And I was watching all these YouTubers and how they homeschooled their family, what resources they were using, like the hslda.org for the homeschool group. And they pretty much had every single state's rules and regulations and how to, what you have to do to sign up and get into homeschooling.
Okay, so wait, that was HSLDA. You'll look it up later. I'll put it in the show notes for people that are going, wait, what did he just say? So that'll be in the show notes. Is that what you think it is?
It's hslda.org.
hslda.org. It'll be in the show notes.
But I think, when I listen to your question and I take it back to the root basis, this comes down to a domicile question. You kind of have to follow the rules of where you personally live. So for you, it might be different than Terry and different for us because we're domiciled down in Florida. Terry, you're domiciled in Florida too, right? And you guys...
South Dakota,
North Dakota?
South Dakota.
One of them there, Dakotas.
Well, you can domicile just about anywhere you want to. There's so many different programs. Like most people use Escapees, or like us, we're using Dakota Post. So we can domicile in a different state than what we actually left from. Where we left from is Arizona.
Right. So we left from Nevada, and Nevada actually changed their rules last year while we were on the road. So we couldn't domicile there anymore. So thank God to Escapees. You brought that up and we had the owners, Travis and
Melanie. It's Melodie and Melody. I have to keep it straight.
Okay, so we had the owners of Escapees on the RV Life podcast just a few weeks ago, and they talked about domicile and their domicile program. So that's how we get our domicile in Florida. And it was a very, very easy process. They made it so easy. All we had to do is show up. And then we got new driver's license and everything. But if we had kids, because we domicile in Florida, we would have to follow the Florida rules. They follow the South Dakota rules. Terry, you have to follow the Florida rules. Florida rules. Is that an oxymoron? Florida and rules in the same?
I think it just comes down to what you feel you need for your family. What's going to be the best domicile for schooling and for, let's say, taxes in the state. And just doing your homework and figuring out a state that works for you and picking that as your domicile.
And I think that's the best answer. I think with anything RVing, it comes down to what works for your family, for you. Dan and I obviously didn't care about education because we don't have kids on the road with us. But obviously, if we had kids, that'd be our for us, that would be our number one concern, our number one thought. So again, it's one of those answers that it depends. But Kurt, you look like you want to add something.
Well, there's no right answer for the whole. I mean, there's right answers for yourself. It all boils down to you're not stuck in your home state necessarily. You can re-domicile somewhere else.
Right. And that's a whole question of domicile for people. Again, a lot of people reach out to us that are just starting out or haven't even gotten on the road full time yet. Domicile is something that people want to look up and what that means and how that works. And again, a lot of us talked about escapees, and escapees for us was great in handling that and what would be best.
Okay. Patty, do you have any other questions on homeschooling?
I don't think we do. I think we covered it. I think between the people here and the conversation before, and certainly Mel and Kurt and Marcus kind of handled the big questions. I know socialization is the big one, and if Marcus didn't help people with that, I don't know. There's, no help then, because he did a great job. Excuse me.
Well, Marcus, I got to say that if you ever need a job when you get to be of age where you're allowed to have a job, you can come and be the roadie for the RV Life podcast anytime you want. You helped us set up here. You're going to help us tear it down. And most important, you're going to help us carry it all out to the car afterwards. So thank you, Marcus, for being on the show.
We do have to pay him $30 a week was the rate I negotiated with him.
$30 a week, huh?
Yeah, that's the rate. But thank you very much.
I'll give you an RV Life podcast cup.
It costs a lot more than that feeding.
I know. We had boys. Yep, we had boys. We know. And guess what? At 12, you're just starting with feeding him, as you know.
Yeah, our oldest is 21, nearly ate us out of house and home.
Oh, okay, there you have it. Yep, that's it. So now you have to teach them how to go grocery shopping. I hear there's a great calculator app to teach kids about money. And next week is laundry, and next month will be grocery shopping. Okay.
That sounds like a plan.
There you go. There's your curriculum.
Kurt and Melodie, I'm so happy that you guys have come into our life and become a part of our community. In the RV life, having community is so important. People that you know on the road, people that you can talk to on the road, people that you can go out to dinner with when you're out someplace. It's just a great, great feeling. And I have to say that we are grateful that you have come into our lives and that we can call you guys friends.
Same here, Dan.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're so glad we met you too.
Oh, thank you. So sweet. Go ahead, Marcus. You want to say something?
You're our great friends.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to let him ride my electric bike. I'm going to be the best friend he ever had. Okay, I also want to thank our listeners. We truly appreciate you listening to the RV Life podcast each and every week. Hit that follow button. It's up on the top or the bottom. Depends on what kind of phone you have. But hit the follow button so you don't miss any of our podcast. I'm Dan Hunt saying have a great rest of today.
And a better day tomorrow.